175th year. Hillsdale is a truly independent. Ladies and gentlemen, the following segment of the podcast is presented exclusively by Hillsdale College. Now, in its 175th year, Hillsdale is a truly independent institution where learning is prized and intellectual enthusiasm is valued. Thank you for listening, and my sincere appreciation to Hillsdale for their sponsorship.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. We've allowed the Democrat Party to get away with a coup effort, changing the language, turning this country inside out. I say we've allowed because our other institutions are incapable of addressing this because they've devoured those institutions too. I just want to remind you that it was the Democrat Party that stood with the Soviet Union against Ronald Reagan. When Reagan wanted to destroy the Soviet Union first, he had to defeat the Democrat Party. He had to win 2 massive landslides. He had to win the Senate, which he did for 6 years or so. He had to win one budget fight after another where the government was shut down over half a dozen times. He wanted to rebuild the United States military. The Democrats opposed him. He wanted to build the Strategic Defense Initiative, which they mocked as Star Wars, and now we rely on as do our allies. He wanted to upgrade Trident missiles. He wanted to put them in upgraded missiles in Europe. They opposed him every step of the way. The media, of course, treated him as a cowboy, as a dunce. We had so-called documentaries about winter, spring under Reagan if we had nuclear war. But the American people knew better. The same Democrat Party that embraced Ted Kennedy, who actually did conspire with the Soviet Union and the KGB, as we know as a matter of fact, which is why they don't talk about it, for the purpose of defeating Reagan in his second term, is now the Democrat Party that pretends to oppose Russia. The same Democrat Party whose great hero, Barack Obama, was an appeaser to Vladimir Putin, who did nothing when the Russians interfered in our election, because he thought Hillary Clinton would win and he didn't want to taint her victory. The same Barack Obama who withheld offensive military weaponry from the Ukrainian government while it was being invaded by Vladimir Putin in Russia. The same Barack Obama who didn't lift a finger when the Russians annexed Crimea and invaded Ukraine. Not a finger. That party claims to be tough on Russia. The same Democrat Party that when Hillary Clinton and the DNC laundered money through a Democrat law firm, laundered money through a Democrat Fusion GPS, run by former journalists, of course, and did in fact collude with Russians to lie about candidate Trump and push that information into the FBI and push that information into the CIA and push that information into the State Department and into the media. That Democrat Party pretends to be anti-Russia. They've learned a lot from the old Soviet Union. They turned the victim into the perpetrator. They criminalized politics. Schumer, Pelosi, the media, the Democrats pushing like hell for a special counsel. Rod Rosenstein, a bureaucrat, weak, pathetic, buckles under the pressure, even though he violates Department of Justice regulations in the appointment of a special counsel. The special counsel searches wide and far, including 13 countries, hundreds of subpoenas, hundreds of witnesses, hundreds of thousands of pages of documents. Not once did the President of the United States assert any privilege that other presidents have asserted. They had access to every witness, every document, every email, every text message. Nothing. Zero. No Russia collusion. And yet the Democrats pretend that they're defending the Constitution. The Democrats pretend that they're anti-Russia when they trashed Reagan, who defeated the Soviet Union, when they trashed Reagan's national security policies and his foreign policies, when they celebrated Obama and Obama's appeasement. And Obama didn't lift a finger to help the people of Ukraine. Not a finger. Obama didn't lift a finger to prevent the Russians from interfering in our election in 2016. He didn't lift a finger. And they lecture us, and they claim to defend the Constitution. The same party that eviscerates the United States military. The same party that turns our military into a social experiment. Claim to stand for national security. The same party that treats the funding of the military as it treats the funding of food stamps. The same party that wants our borders wide open to anybody who manages to come into this country, as long as they'll vote Democrat, tells you that they stand for national security and the rule of law. And now, since all that failed, $40 million, a 500-page report, a special counsel, 17 assistant special counsel, not one conservative Republican among them, an assorted group of malcontents and miscreants, Democrats, donors, nothing. Nothing. And as the House Judiciary Committee and the media tried to turn it into something, they failed. Then they bring in their great witness, Robert Mueller. The media have told us this is the Messiah. Nobody dares to question Robert Mueller. I mean, after all, he served in Vietnam, he was a Republican, he was head of the FBI, was a U.S. attorney. Nobody questions him. Now you can trash Bill Barr all you want. You can trash Michael Flynn all you want. Don't worry about their past service. None of that matters. But not Mueller. Mueller comes up there, obviously he's got a loose screw at 5. It fails. So they hatch another plot. This so-called whistleblower didn't come to them, they created him. He'd been in the Obama National Security Council. He'd worked with the worst of the worst. He worked with Vindman. He worked with 2 individuals who would eventually become staffers to Adam Schiff. He worked closely with Joe Biden. He worked closely with John Brennan. He's an activist, Democrat, leftist, dressed up as a CIA operative. And there he is, at the National Security Council. At least one report indicates he was removed because they were concerned he might be a leaker. All of a sudden, at the end of July, we get a complaint filed by this individual. What's his name again, Rich? You know I'm going to ask you 4 billion times. Eric, what is it? Charamella. I'm writing it down. Eric Charamella. Eric Charamella, who to this day won't come on this program, nor will his...
Okay. All right, you're listening to Mark Levin. This is the Mark Levin Show, 12/4/19. And this is a podcast. And I mean, he's right on the money. These Democrats, they're just I don't know. They're in darkness. There's a spirit of darkness that's over these Democrats. And listen to me, because all things in this world that goes on is darkness and light. That's the sheep and the goat. Everything is darkness and light. Now there may seem to be some gray in between or in details, things in the details, but the devil is in the details. So when you're listening to the Democrats and the Republicans, you've got to discern who is in the light and who is in the darkness. And you can't have it both ways. The Democrats can't be in the light and the Republicans be in the light when they're both two opposing parties. So it's got to be one way or the other. Who is in the light? Who is in the right? The one's in darkness and the other is in the light. And I submit to you that the Republican Party on this subject right here of impeachment is in the light. There has been no proof whatsoever that Donald Trump has made any kind of deals with Ukraine. Even the president of Ukraine himself says that there was nothing wrong with the call, that the call was fine, and that there was no trying to get quid pro quo or get something for something, no trade of kinds like that going on, like for the money. The money was held up because of corruption in the prior Ukraine, from the prior time, from the 2016 up to this new guy here, this Lewinsky or whatever his name is, and Donald Trump did right to go slow and make sure that there was no corruption in this administration of Ukraine before he let go of the aid that we had for him. And once everything was like that, up and aboard, then President Trump did release the aids. The United States released the aids, and they never Biden's were never investigated, and Trump never asked them to investigate. Trump just asked them to consider, that some of the same guys that were there before might still be in the administration. And Trump was more or less warning this new president about the old regime and what might still remain in the old regime. So, but anyway, God is in control, and this House of Congress, who thinks they are above the rules and who have set the rules for themselves. I mean, a blind man with a cane can see that Adam Schiff has clearly took this out, and run with very little to go on. And same as from way back. I mean, they've been doing this talking impeachment since 2016, and even the Judiciary Department. I mean, you got 16 who's already predetermined that Trump is guilty, so he can't get a fair trial. Nowhere in this here. The only fair trial he's going to get is when it goes to the Senate and they kick it out. This is Steve Smith with CGRB, and thank you for tuning in and listening to us, and we'll continue this on part 2. And thank you very much.